process, so I'll get copies of the recipes.
So, I have to apologize, we don't have a co-check service for everyone.
And a valet too.
And a valet. Have a few more people coming in. Come on in. So how's everyone today? Cold? So I hope everyone helped himself to some tea. And we'd like to thank everyone who brought in whole food plant-based snacks there and food. Looks fantastic. I took some pictures of it too. Great organization, Diana, just one of the few things that you do. So hello everyone and welcome to Eastown Pharmacy in Windsor, Ontario. I want to thank each and every one of you for coming out this evening on a cold winter night. My name is Steve Gavrlos. I'm the pharmacist owner of this little old-fashioned pharmacy. On January 1st, 2017, I weighed 200 pounds. This morning, when I woke up, I got on the scale and it said 160 pounds. I lost 40 pounds. Just wait 1 second. Go ahead, answer your phone.
Get that, will you?
Okay, so persistent, hey, no call waiting or voicemail or anything. So, as I said, almost 2 years ago I was 200 pounds, and this morning the scale says 160. So I lost 40 pounds, not by counting calories, and I've never felt hungry. I'm always full. How did I do this? I've been following a whole food plant-based diet. It's been almost 2 years now. My whole food plant-based diet has not only helped me lose the weight that I couldn't lose for so many years, but it's also helped me feel so much better in so many different ways. As the Phytopharmacist, which some people call me, I incorporate the power of a whole food plant-based lifestyle into my pharmacy practice when counseling and teaching patients how to improve their health and well-being. I'm also happy to be a member of PBNSG, the Plant-Based Nutrition Support Group. Today we've invited a special guest here for our first PBNSG meeting of 2019. To make these introductions, I want to call up the group leader of our PBNSG small group here in Windsor, Dinah Odu-Remerick. Over the last year, Dinah has done a fantastic job of organizing and putting together our monthly meetings and successfully growing our PBNSG Windsor group with hopefully more people coming on board in 2019. Let's have a warm welcome for Dinah.
Thank you. So we live in an age where the medical and scientific and technological advancements have been profound and astounding. Yet somehow we've just kind of resorted to looking to our healthcare as disease care and disease management. You know, the pills you take for your heart disease are not going to cure the heart disease. The statins aren't going to cure your high cholesterol. What those are doing is they're treating symptoms of an underlying cause, okay? So you treat the symptoms without considering the cause, and now you're causing other potential side effects in the process. So how do we discover the cause? About 20 plus years ago, two intrepid scientists, a physician and a scientist, were called in to look into the source of some alarming health trends that were emerging. They came and began doing research, and being positioned that way enabled them to have access to more people and more scenarios than a typical researcher would have. So as a result of 20 years and thousands of people that they were able to follow and watch and observe and do testing, lab tests and whatnot on, they've discovered the cause is what we're eating. So the standard American diet is the cause of a lot of the chronic disease that we are experiencing. So the good news is they also at the same time discovered the cure, which is whole food, plant-based nutrition, which is what we are forming around in this group. So we need to be aware that this continent is on a train journey headed towards a collision in the next decade or two with a head-on collision with a healthcare crisis, the likes of which we can't imagine, nor are we equipped to deal with. So, like my husband and I did, I thought, let's jump off the train, okay? So we have adopted whole food plant-based nutrition, much like Steve. and are enjoying a lot of really remarkable changes as a result. What is whole food plant-based nutrition? Okay, whole food. We eat food as close to the way as it occurs in nature as possible. So zucchini looks like zucchini. The things we eliminate are like highly processing cane sugar, like sugar beets, sugar cane. We take what had some value and had some nutrient value, we process the heck out of it, we put it through these chemical processes, and we're left with the only thing that could be a problem out of this original product, okay? The sugar, when it is contained and packaged and everything the sugar cane has got nutrient benefit. But once you remove the sugar from it, now all you have is the sugar, which is essentially poison. There's no nutritional benefit to it. Nor the aspects of the sugar cane that help the body to assimilate and absorb and make use of what is in it. Likewise with wheat. We take all the layers of the wheat kernel that contain the nutrients and the fiber and the very healthy aspects of the wheat. We grind it, we remove all those layers, grind it, bleach it, process it, and we have a bag of flour. Same story. Everything that was good about it has been removed. And we're left with the stuff that out of the package is not good for us. Plant-based. We eat plants, right? Every plant you can imagine, legumes, nuts, seeds, fruits, the whole gamut. We don't eat anything with a face or a mother, so that's just the easy way to remember it. And then part of it being whole food is we also do not use oil in our cooking. And that can be difficult for some people to wrap their head around, but once you learn a few techniques, you can saute very easily, you can stir fry wonderfully without any oil at all, and it's no problem. So PBNSG exists to help us navigate this new journey, learn from one another, and just benefit from other people's experiences and what other people have to offer. We've got Paul with us here tonight, who my husband will introduce. Since Paul started PBNSG in Michigan, we've grown to 6,000 members. I mean, that's pretty astounding. So they educate, they equip, they provision, they inspire, and they provide a gathering place for these like-minded people to help journey this together. And with that, I'm going to introduce my husband, who's co-lead. This is Jake, and he's going to tell you about Paul, and we'll get Paul started.
Hi, it's my great pleasure to introduce Paul Chatlin this evening, and he is the founder and visionary of PBNSG. Through his hard work and sacrifice, over 6,000 people now benefit from the help that can make the difference between success and struggle when they embrace this new change. In 5 short years, he has taken PBNSG from one voice crying in the wilderness to a robust network of small groups, lectures, for us lay people, as well as physicians and medical leaders, in classes on a wide variety of how-to topics. He has worked with the medical schools to adopt and develop education on plant-based nutrition for our doctors in training. He has approached and convinced many restaurants in the greater Detroit region to modify some of the recipes to embrace entrees that are PBN compliant. He now has a strong leadership team that works under him as he continues to cast the vision for how PBNSG will serve in pivotal ways as more people are awakened to the fact that their sad standard American diet is causing their disease, and the cure is within their power. We thank Paul for his work in enabling us to choose health together. And with that, I'd like to bring you Paul Chatlin.
This is really amazing to me, okay? We've got now 36 small groups all over the state, and we today are international, so it's a wonderful feeling. And I want to share my personal story with you to give you some hope, and then I want to kind of open it up so we could just talk a little bit about, what's in front of you. Because, I mean, you're here to try and make a change or to help somebody make a change. You're here because maybe you're not feeling as good as you'd like to feel. And, you know, I think that it's important to hear stories, and you could go onto our website, which is pbnsg.org, and you could see a lot of great success stories. And you could see, and if you're curious about recipes, like what am I going to eat? We've got hundreds and hundreds of recipes. So we have educational information. We've got everything you want on the website. And the coolest thing, I think, is you're about 45 minutes to every single meeting we have in Birmingham Groves or Birmingham Seaholm High School. I get to see some friends again, which is always nice. Yet, you know, I'm going to share with you, I'm going to start my story, and at the end, I'd like to have you maybe ask me some questions, because 6 years ago, I'm you. You know, like truly, when people ask me, tell me a little bit about me, is nothing special, okay? I just got lucky, okay? I just got a miracle. And you know, it's like my whole life, I'd always say, hey, if you get me out of this situation, I'll give back, and I don't think I did it too often, but when it really mattered, when I was really sick, I asked again for help, and I got it. And I really wanted to make a difference. You know, I just wanted to give back, you know, it was time. And so allow me to share my story. And it really starts as a young man, because growing up, I had a very tight family, and it was built around my dad and his 4 brothers. That was the core of the family. And probably from the age of 10 to 12, I lost 3 of my uncles to heart disease. One of them lived, but he was never the same, because he was the director of personnel at Chrysler. He had his bypass, and they moved him into Northville Hospital, which is a place that helps people mentally. Amazing man who the next day wasn't the same. My father had quadruple bypass, and it happened in just 2.5 years. My whole family was devastated, and our family was never the same. My dad had quadruple bypass surgery. He did live about 20 more years, but I got to see him in the most excruciating pain. I never saw him cry growing up, ever. But he cried for 4 days straight, and that was the memory I had as a 10, 11, 12-year-old young man. So now we fast forward. I turned 50 years old. I, at that point, weighed 225 pounds. I was on cholesterol medication. I will just, you know, again, I'll keep on bringing some thoughts that I have randomly, because I probably do well randomly. I was on Zocor to start. How many people are on any type of cholesterol medication? Raise your hand, please. Don't be shy. We're all family. All right. So I started with Zocor, probably at the age of 30, 31, and within a couple, maybe 2 weeks, I got the side effects of it. So one day I was walking, the next day I couldn't take any steps. Immediately got me off of it. My muscle enzymes had elevated so badly. My doctor at that time thought maybe I had MS. So I had to go to the MS hospital, and they said, no, you're okay, just get off the medication. So then they put me on Lipitor, and about 7 months later, same situation. So the only cholesterol medication I had at the time, by the way, I was at about 280 at that point, okay? So they ended up putting me on something called Pravastatin. Again, when you go back 20 years, there weren't all these other types of cholesterol medication. You really had like 3 different variations. Pravastatin was the weakest of the medication, so I didn't get the muscle enzyme. I was taking 80 milligrams, and I spent the next 20 years baselined at about 250 as my cholesterol number. My doctor said, hey, that's, you know, it's okay. I mean, again, he didn't know. You know, back then, he didn't know. They didn't teach it in school. I will just say this personally, and I'll say it publicly. Now, there's no excuse, okay? The information's out there. The doctors have to know about it, should know about it, and shame on them if they don't, okay? Because, I mean, the world's talking about it. So, now I'm 50 years old. By the way, I'm a happily married man, 3 sons. And at 50 years old, I started realizing that, you know, things weren't getting any better. Things were not getting any better. So I said, okay. My doctor said, well, why don't you give up whole milk and go to skim? Why don't you give up your cheese and go to some skim cheese? You know, everything was, again, he didn't know back then, and this is now, I can't believe it, 11 years ago. But, you know, he was making, you know, look, just do egg whites. These were the things he would say. 5 years later, and I was a very active person, by the way, just to let you know. I was a big-time tennis player. I played college baseball, so I was always active. And I used to always say, hey, I could eat like a pig because I could outwork it. So, you know, those people, like, you know, there's a few groups of people I'm not happy with. Like the people who invented the spices you put in the oil. Okay, we all get the bread, dunk it in the oil, put the spice. Well, when I'd go there, I'd say, give me like a vat of oil and give me a loaf of bread, because I just love that stuff. You know, or my idea of a perfect pizza. It's like if I'm gonna have pizza, back in the day, I would have, ready, double cheese, double meat. Okay, but the next day, I'd go running, I'd bike ride, cannot work a bad diet, but I'd try. Yeah, I would try it all the time. So now, I'm playing tennis. The next day I wake up and I'm like, wow, something is really bad. Like I could, you know, when they actually say like an elephant, and those people here who have experienced this, when they say it's like an elephant's on your chest, they're right. I'd wake up and I was hurting. But I'm a stubborn man, I'm not a smart man, I'm a stubborn person. I'd say, well, I'll just lay in bed a little bit longer, and then it would kind of go away, and then come visit me again late at night. And then we had this relationship for the next 3 months. And I wouldn't want to get out of bed because I was hurting. And then it finally hit me one day. I was walking, and I couldn't take 7 steps without going on the side and just going, man, I gotta go see somebody, this is it. Now, I hadn't told anybody this. I didn't tell my wife, didn't want to worry, I love her, I didn't want to worry her. So I said, okay, I went to my doctor. So they do the basic tests, everything you could think of, ultrasound, CT, everything you could think of, up to heart catheter and heart biopsy. Up to that point, and I was working with a cardiologist at the Beaumont Hospital, he had said to me, Paul, listen, we need to set up a heart catheter and a heart biopsy because the indication is you either need triple or quadruple bypass or a heart transplant. That's what the indication is. I'm 55 years old. I mean, are you kidding me? But, you know, when you look back, it kind of makes sense. My whole family's devastated with this thing. Okay. So here starts the miracles, which is I realized then I had to go tell my wife because it was getting real serious. So I stopped at her office on the way home and I said, come on in the conference room, let's just talk. And I said, you know, and I explained it, and she kind of slapped me in the head for not telling her. But I love her. I didn't want to upset her. And her boss walked by the conference room and asked what's going on. Well, it just turned out that his wife, 2 years prior, had got a lung transplant at the Cleveland Clinic. I'm not going to sit in judgment. She was a little bit older, and we could say, well, she got the lung that some probably young person should have had, but I know that he put a lot of money into the Cleveland Clinic to get it. I'm not judging him, but he made a call and was able to get me into the Cleveland Clinic a week prior to the appointment I had at the Beaumont Hospital for the heart catheter and the heart biopsy. So, miracle, because usually it takes 6 months or longer to get into the Cleveland Clinic. So that was one big miracle. I go in there, and they go through all the tests. Now, most hospitals have similar tests, but Cleveland Clinic's got a little bit newer tests, okay? So, again, they didn't know where it was going to go. My doctor was the head of heart transplants. So that's where the indication was I needed. And I was scared, okay? I was very scared, no question about it. So we start doing the heart catheter. Now, I was just, you know, they put, by the way, just FYI, if you ever have to have it, hope you never do, but I had it done through my wrist. It took about 4 hours as opposed to doing it in the groin, which would take 8 hours. It wasn't painful. It was just scary. That's about it, you know? I mean, it wasn't that painful. I don't want to do it again, but it just wasn't that bad. So I could, you know, they got you in twilight. So you're not totally knocked out, you're kind of like, you know, like this. And I will admit to you that one of the funniest things I'll always remember is when they said, okay, it's your time to get the heart catheter, they bring you into, you know, this prep room. 3 nurses shave you top to bottom because you're going to be going into surgery possibly. And, you know, I'm a prideful person, but boy, just the visual made me laugh, okay? Because I was shaved, top to bottom shaved. I'm glad a few people appreciate that. I really did, okay? So So now I'm laying there and I could hear the doctor talk and I hear him go, yes. And I'm like, well, what do you say? Why? He goes, you don't need a heart transplant, but you do need bypass surgery. Well, to me, that's, I mean, okay, cool. It's like, hey, no new heart or new transplant, but, it's still kind of scary because all of a sudden I'm thinking about my dad, his brothers, all those memories that were locked away as a young kid started coming up. So here I am, literally, getting ready for the second miracle already. I'm being wheeled in, and right at the surgical door, he looks down at me, he says, listen, I've only offered this to one other person in 20 years. Now, I just met him, by the way. You know what I mean? What a leap of faith. I didn't know. I didn't have any relationship with this cardiologist. I just met him that day. He said, you need surgery, but if you'd consider a nutritional change, maybe we don't need surgery. Yes. It was like this. I'll do it now. Now, I didn't know that his mentor, okay, third miracle coming up, his mentor was Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn, who wrote the book, How to Reverse and Prevent Heart Disease. So, I mean, think about it. I get in the Cleveland Clinic, that's pretty lucky. I get they have 1,000 cardiologists there. I get the one guy whose mentor was Caldwell Esselstyn, and he sees something in me, because I could have gone right through that door. We wouldn't see each other today. I'd have had the 10-inch scar, I'd be eating bad food, and I'd be now 5 years away for a potential another bypass, and I'd be weighing 225 pounds, and I wouldn't be enjoying the life I have today. It's not perfect, but it's much better. And I'll explain and talk to you about that in a minute. So now I said yes, but think about it, 6 years ago, I didn't know what I was saying yes to. I didn't know Caldwell Esselstyn. I didn't know whole food plant-based. I didn't know what I was doing. And then he said, well, you're going to have to get rid of meat, dairy, and oil. And I'm like, oh, okay, maybe, maybe I could get rid of some of those things, right? But I did it overnight. I just said, okay, I'm all in, because I was really hurting. That angina, it hurts. And I wanted to feel alive again. That's really what it came down to. I wanted to feel healthy again. So I made that change now. The greatest thing I have, the thing I enjoy the most, is the small groups, because I'm not on stage, I'm not having to prep anything, I'm not driving people around. I just get to be me and tell you how I felt about that moment. And I want to share with you that in the first 3 months, you go back 6 years, there were like just 2 books out there, the China Study and How to Reverse and Prevent Heart Disease. You didn't have a whole list of books that you have now, How Not to Die, and all these other ones. They're great books. And think about all the recipes I didn't have. I was looking through it, and I'm like, okay, I got like 20 items they're going to have. Now, just FYI, for those people who are transitioning, what I've realized, just like I realized when I bought the fancy iPod, I needed to have 1,000 songs, right? But what I realized is I only listened to like 100, so I kind of bypassed, excuse the pun.
Bypass.
Okay, so I thought that, like I'd listen to 1,000 songs, I only listen to 100. And when it comes to meals, my success has been, because I truly don't have as much time today as I did when I was sick, because I'm busy, and I'll share some of the things that we're doing, is I just have, I found a great breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and I found 3 more of those. And I could rotate those, and anytime I get tempted, I just have to remind myself exactly how I felt on that gurney before he said, would you consider a nutrition change? Okay, I was scared, and I'm not really much of a scared person too often, but I was scared. All right, so now I go back, I'm now transitioning, I've spent the first 3 months, and I realized I don't know how to cook. Okay, I wasn't a cook, so I went to the Esselstyn's home where they do like a half-day cooking, and I thought to myself, boy, they charge a lot of money. But after I got back beyond that, I realized that, you know what, everyone should have the right to learn how to cook this food. So I thought, okay, my give back, and I made a promise. I said, if you get me, we've all done this, right? Hey, Lord, you get me out of jail. I'm sorry, I was talking about me. You get me out of trouble, I promise I'll give back. Okay? I've said that many a time. My mom was right. So I remember being on the gurney. Get me out of this, I'm going to give back. So I thought the give back would be, I'm going to go to Blue Cross Blue Shield and create a pay code. So anybody who wants to move from Standard American Diet to a whole food plant-based, they won't have to suffer like I did, and they'll learn how to cook, and then they'll get reimbursed. But then I started working my way up Blue Cross Blue Shield, and at the very top level, I went to the 8th level. I didn't know there's 8 levels. That's pretty funny. 8 levels, wow. So they said that they need to get a pay code, and the only way to get that pay code established is to work with the